Okay, part two to our aggregate supply and demand notes. We are looking at the curves themselves now. And you'll notice, again, like I mentioned before, that these supply and demand curves look exactly like the non-aggregate supply and demand, so the microeconomy level supply and demand curves, which refer to specific industries and markets. So when we were talking about microeconomics, the equilibrium point was simply referred to as the equilibrium point. When we're talking about macroeconomics, the equilibrium point is actually the GDP, because the equilibrium point is where um, where the economy is actually at, wherever that may be. And then the goal is to try to shift curves so that you can move the equilibrium point. But so, you know, important note, macroeconomic levels, the equilibrium point of aggregate supply and aggregate demand is going to be GDP. So now we can talk about some of the things that can cause increases and decreases in both aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So um, just as a general rule, shifting to the right is going to be an increase, because shifting to the right means that at any given price level, either the supply or the demand, whatever we're talking about, is going to go up. Because if it started here, it's really annoying. If it started here and then it goes here, it went up at any given price level. So increasing is always going to the right, decreasing is always going to the left. So factors that can shift aggregate demand to the right are business confidence and consumer go up, government increases spending and reduces taxes, and a reduction in taxes gives people more money to spend on goods and services. U.S. exports grow and or imports decline, meaning that we are producing a lot, sending it out, and we are not bringing in goods and services from other countries, because typically that means that we want cheaper prices. Federal Reserve lowers interest rates. So interest rates and increasing and decreasing are going to have an inverse relationship with aggregate demand, because if it lowers interest rates, then people are going to have more money to spend on goods and services. Factors that can shift it to the left. So think of all the things we just talked about and just make them opposite. So confidence goes down for businesses and consumers. Government reduces spending and or increases taxes. U.S. imports increase and or exports decrease, meaning that we are outsourcing to more countries more often. And outsourcing means that we're looking for cheaper labor because the economy is not doing as well, so we have to be able to charge cheaper prices, etc., etc. Federal Reserve increases interest rates, again, that inverse relationship. So if they increase interest rates, then we have less money to spend on fun things. So factors that shift aggregate supply to the right, so increase again. Lower prices for inputs means that they can get more inputs for the amount that they were originally paying. Increased foreign competition is going to always drive business forward. More international trade, again, any sort of international competition, international trade, that means that global business is happening, and the economies are healthy, because for the global economy to work, and for any one large economy to work well, you want the global economy to be healthy, because we are very dependent on each other at this point. Better trained workforce means that your employees are probably more productive and more efficient. And government subsidies mean the government is giving you money to make things. So, yay. Factors that shift aggregate supply to the left, so again, decrease. Again, we're just going to flip it. So higher prices for inputs, so that means I have to spend more to get the same amount that I was getting before. Decrease foreign competition and less international trade. So again, we're slowing down that global business and that global economy, which is never a good thing. Shortage of skilled and educated workers, meaning that they're going to be less efficient, less productive. They're going to make more mistakes. They're just going to, in general, be more problematic and cost the company more in the long run. And higher taxes on businesses mean that businesses have lower profits, or they have to shift that increased tax expense onto the consumer per unit. So they basically just say, okay, well, we make 1,000,000 units and we're getting charged $1,000,000 extra dollars. Now each of those units costs an extra dollar. So you as the consumer are the one that's actually paying the tax. So you've got a lot of double taxation, triple taxation, because then you're paying sales tax on it. It's kind of silly. These last questions, what is the market tool? Okay, market tool, not a real term, but what they're referring to is what is the actual tool, chart, table, graph, what have you, that is being used here to examine the condition of the economy. Pause and think about it. Aggregate supply and aggregate demand graphs. What is the macroeconomic equilibrium equal to? We talked about this before. That's going to be the GDP. Why do rising prices cause AD to decline? I'll let you think about that one, but any of these reasons up here will cause it to decline, and anything like that. What could cause AD to shift to the right? So we know that AD is increasing. Again, any of these factors right here. What could cause AS to shift to the left? Again, left decrease. Any of these factors up here. All right, so now we're going to move on to the quiz.